we get into situations in life where we feel like things are never going to change, and some things are unchangeable, but um, God is able to do miracles. God is able to change things that for us as human beings, they're impossible to change. When we came to Northwestern Ontario, got involved with Northern Youth Programs, my part of my job was to involve travel to the north, and we did a lot of that travel in small float planes, or uh, they were the planes were then on skis in the winter, so it was either floats in the summer or skis in the winter. And I had a problem with motion sickness. I would get sick, and often we wouldn't be flying more than 15 or 20 minutes, and I would just be sick, and I'd be throwing up, and it just wasn't pleasant for me at all to fly. The plane that we often flew in was a Cessna 206. It was a six-passenger plane. Because I was the smallest person, or the lightest person, I was often usually put in the back. So I was back in the tail, and of course the tail would swing more than in the front, and so it didn't help my motion sickness at all. I started taking gravel or Dramamine, which helped with the motion sickness, but it also made me feel groggy and just out of it. And often we would fly up north in the morning, and I would take gravel, and I would be groggy and a little bit out of it. We'd get to the meeting, I'd get through the meeting, and my stomach wasn't really settled, and I wasn't feeling good. And then about the time things were starting to get settled and the Dramamine was wearing off, then it would be time to fly home. And then I would do the whole thing all over, and so it just wasn't very pleasant. It wasn't very nice, and I've been sick in airplanes so many times that it just, yeah, it wasn't good. So after a number of years, I don't know how long, I was just getting tired of being sick every time that we would fly. And so we went to a meeting one day, and actually we had two meetings. We went up north, we had a meeting up north in the morning, and then we flew to International Falls, Minnesota, and we had a meeting there in the late afternoon and evening, and then we flew back to Dryden. So I had three flights the same day, and by the time I got home, I was just sick. And so I was kind of, after that, I was talking to God one day, and I was telling God, this doesn't make any sense. Like, you could have called me anywhere in the world. You could have taken me to a place where I didn't have to fly, but here I am. But something has to change. Like, I just don't want to keep doing this. And so a few days later, I was at the doctor's office, and there was a magazine lying there, Psychology Today, and there was an article about motion sickness. And the article said that motion sickness is not physiological, it's psychological. And, it's, I thought, that could be true, because a friend of mine had told me a story about he and some of his friends had gone uh, to Delaware, to the East Coast, to go deep sea fishing. And some of the men were worried about getting motion sickness. And so but they had forgotten to get the little motion sickness pads that you stick behind your ear, and it slowly releases um, medication into your system. It keeps you from getting seasick. So one of the people that was along was a doctor. So they told him, go to the pharmacy and get us some of these motion sickness pads. So he went to the pharmacy, and they didn't have any. They were out of them. But they had some Dr. Scholl's corn pads. And he thought, well, they look pretty much the same. So he got a couple packs of those, and he went back and he just passed them out individually to the men. Said, here, stick this behind your ear. They all did. They went out fishing. Nobody got sick. um, because they all thought they had motion sickness medication they were getting through their Dr. Scholl's corn pad, and it worked. So I kind of talked to the Lord again, and I said, God, I don't know if motion sickness is psychological or physiological, but you can change it. And so I'm going to stop taking Dramamine, and I think you can heal me, whether it's physiological or psychological. You can take care of it. So I did. I stopped taking gravel. I stopped taking Dramamine, and things changed. And God did that for me. And since that time, I haven't thrown up on a small airplane. There were times when I didn't feel real good, but I didn't throw up, and I didn't get as miserably sick as I would before. And so things changed. And even though it seemed unchangeable to me, God intervened and did something special for me.